Welcome to my LGBT lesbian channel. The series Checkmate, Stripper and Dance for Me are voiced for you in full history. Thank you for your comments, reactions and subscription to my channel. Have a nice day everyone. Lauren Yaredwi's point of view. I poured another good amount of hot coffee in my cup. I would need it if I wanted to keep myself focused enough on my reasoning. On the desk was all the documentation gathered by Allison and me. After a few hours in the Technical Information Center, Allie was still trying to decipher the system's codification, in the vague attempt to get any information that would lead us to a suspect. The system manager got in touch with you? Yes, he said he'd come to the precinct tomorrow to give testimony. But advanced that according to them, only one person can have the password that has full access to the system. But they as owners have access to anything in the system. I said, taking another sip of coffee. I don't believe they would shoot themselves in the foot. If the system is proved faulty, they would have to pay a millionaire fine to the owner of the company. Allie spoke as she turned her chair towards me. Fine? Yes. According to the contract made, if the system shows any flaw, the security company will have to pay the amount stolen and a very high fine. But for that they would have to file a lawsuit, proving that the system failed. Yes, true. Allie touched with the back of the pencil on the corner of her temple as she thought about the situation. It wouldn't be that hard. A good way to get a nice amount of money. I don't think Collins needs that, the shorter one said, staring at me, probably thinking that that idea was absurd. Why not? These men tend to always want more than they have. True, I've seen many cases. But why would he call the police to investigate? Strategies. I'm not saying he stole it. I just think that in the middle of all this, everyone is a suspect. Allie shrugged and turned her attention back to the system. I have an idea, I said when I sat next to her. Spill it. You are going through all that data, but you aren't finding absolutely anything. We could put an IP tracker. We'll register all the IPs of Collins Enterprises, and any different IP that enters the system will automatically be informed. That is a great idea, Lauren. But I don't think the person who stole the money gets in so easily. And if she did, she would mask it easily. I know, Allie, but we can interfere with that while she's in our network. We need to be fast to get information while the person is online. You think that would work? Yes, $500,000 is probably not a sufficient amount for whom stole it. She will hack again and then we'll get the IP and we'll find out from where the person is. I like your idea. Perfect. Tomorrow I want to interrogate some people. Vera will go with me to Collins. Meanwhile, I'll look for a federal police program to install at Collins. We need one more person, the blonde said as she turned off the computer. I'll talk to Commissioner Brandon. We'll recruit someone from System Analyses to help you. Okay, get in touch with me as soon as you recruit someone. And Lauren. I turned to Allie, who stopped in front of the door. Yes? Go rest, it's late. You won't give your 100% if you don't sleep. I know. Good night, Agent Brooke. Allison smiled and nodded. Good night, Laure, she said before leaving the room. I should be the last person on that floor of the police station. All the others followed their working hours to the hilt, which wasn't wrong, of course. But that was my first case, and only I knew how important it was for my career as a police officer. The merit of unraveling that enigma would be marked in my path. I'll solve it, I will. I sat on the soft chair, as my eyes wandered through the stacks of paper on the desk. I closed my eyes and images of Carla from today invaded my thoughts. She was simply impeccable, as always. I didn't know how to explain, but Carla Camilla had an extremely attractive aura. Everything in that woman became attractive. Focus, that's what you need, Lauren, I told myself. Focus, could you keep focus having Camila Cabello in your life? The Latina played an enchanting, dangerous game. The danger and the challenge made everything more interesting. She would walk all over the squares, knocking down all the pieces around me. She would knock me down like a queen in a chess game. I shook my head as I got up from my chair. I grabbed my car keys from the desk, to then get out of there. Arriving home, T could notice some pieces of clothing thrown on the floor. Veronica was home, and accompanied apparently. God, I said when I saw panties on the floor. The night would be long and good for her. I heard the sound of the toaster in the background as I fried the scrambled eggs on the stove. Preparing breakfast was easy, but serving as a maid to Vero and her companion wasn't on my list of things to do in New York. I could hear the laughter coming from the bedroom when Iglesias showed up in the kitchen next to Agent Pinheiro. The woman smiled uncomfortably, perhaps a little embarrassed to see me. But soon her expression softened when she saw me smile. "Good morning," I said as I walked towards the table with the frying pan in hand. "Good morning, Laure," Vero spoke excitedly, sitting at the table. "Good morning," the brunette said. Agent Pinheiro was an investigator in the New York police station, but according to what I heard, she would be transferred back to Brazil, her home country, after almost 3 years. Bruna said she would take me to visit Brazil. Vero spoke while I served the scrambled eggs. "Really? I'll get rid of you?" I asked jokingly. "Yes, I'm going, but I'll be back to disturb your days." That sounds great. I want to go too," I said with a smile. "Everyone can go. I have a great house there. It would be a pleasure to have you in my country." That was clearly an invitation. You heard that, right, Lauren? We'll meet the Brazilian lands. -1 did. Bruna, you literally cannot take back the invitation. And not only the lands, Iglesias. The officer laughed amusedly. "I wouldn't do that. I'm going back this week. When you have a day off in the precinct, you can go. I'll love it. I'll even throw a welcome party." "We surely will," I said as I took a sip of coffee. "You are all dressed up. Where are you going?" I frowned towards my best friend who analyzed me from head to toe. That morning I was wearing light blue jeans, a horizontal striped in black and white blouse, and on top a black sophisticated feminine blazer, with rolled up sleeves to the forearm. "We have to go to the police station and from there we have to go to Collins Enterprise. Did you forget?" Veronica raised her eyebrows at the memory of our commitment, which I clearly had warned the day before. I wasn't remembering. Gathered that much. "If it was my fault, I'm sorry." Bruna spoke politely. "Don't worry, it's not your fault that this one is an airhead." Spoke to then stare at Veronica. "I'm going to the police station, get a head start on some things. You can go with Bruna, right?" "Yep, I just need to get ready and then I'll meet you there." "Okay, I'm going then." I got up from the table, wiping the corner of my lips with the small napkin. I grabbed my car keys that was on the kitchen counter, to then move towards the door. "Girls," one exclaimed, attracting both women's attention, "behave yourselves, and don't be late, please." "Yes, ma'am, Deputy," Vero said with a smile. After almost 2 hours, we were entering Collins Enterprises parking lot. This time I wouldn't have a specific visit with Christopher, and much less with his wife, Camilla. We would be now gathering information of the employees, all very bureaucratic. Vero and I talked to some employees of the financial sector, and according to them, nothing like that had ever happened. All the high values were properly transferred with Christopher's authorization and his microchip. Sometimes used by John, with the owner's supervision, of course. John used the microchip frequently? I asked the young man from the financial sector. Yes, Mr. Collins has a lot of trust in him. How long has he been working here? Veronica asked. I work here for 6 years. When I got in, he was already beside Mr. Collins. The young man said calmly, as he sipped from his small cup of coffee, "Ma'am, I don't think he did anything. I'm not blaming him, I just need to get all the possible information. Here everyone can be guilty." The blonde nodded, suspicious of the way I spoke. Vero casted me an intense look, as if she was asking me to stay calm. "I'm willing to help." "We know you are, Fred." Vero spoke calmer. I didn't have much patience for those who decided to choose the words in the middle of an interrogation. I liked everything. Very clear and straightforward. "I'll take over from here, you can go for a spin." I alternated between the two, and nodded slowly. Vero knew of my short temper, and whenever she sensed a possible outburst on my part, she took charge of the situation. "I'll take a walk around the company, I'll be back in a few minutes," I said before leaving the small room. I walked down the long corridor of Collins Enterprise, seeing the frantic movement in all the sectors I had access along the way. It was clear the high circulation of money in that place. Christopher Collins was the oil magnate in New York, having what he had wasn't for everyone. I admit that I was surprised at how a relatively young man could have built such a great empire like that one, but as they say, some have the gift. In slow steps I reached the central courtyard, where there was a huge LED screen, in which was being shown a sequence of CE images. In them were shown some processes of oil extraction, partnerships, deals that had the powerful owner as the protagonist of the videos. Christopher appeared with his impeccable appearance in the center of a huge table, being surrounded by other men who I thought to be his partners. In another image he greeted an old man, to then in the sequence be shown a small text informing the great contracts that Collins Enterprise was closing that year. And finally, his imposing image next to his wife on the front page of the New York Times. The Oil King. That was the main headline. My eyes focused exclusively on the Latina that maintained a superior look, almost challenging. For who wanted to see? I didn't know how to explain what that woman had, but something about her was too tempting to resist. Oh. If you like that I voiced the continuation of the series Stripper and want me to continue, please like and write a comment on the video. This will be an incentive to continue working on translation and dubbing.